Yeah, those are fine.
We're in Valparaiso, Indiana, and this is Leonard and Lee Pera. Leonard is legally blind. That doesn't mean he can't see at all, but his sight is seriously degraded. This video effect gives a rough idea of what he sees. The sharp central vision is missing, leaving only the less distinct peripheral vision. Leonard has seen the world this way for 10 years.
One of the greatest disappointments with my lack of vision was not being able to see my grandson. And I can't even see my children anymore, but I've seen them. I haven't seen my grandson. He's 7 years old, and I haven't been able to see him with this lack of vision. I don't know what he really looks like.
Like many victims of macular degeneration, as it's called, Leonard uses a series of simple devices to help him cope. For long distance, a small telescope magnifies the letters of a sign so that they're legible just using his peripheral vision. He has to scan along the letters to read the word. For close-up, he has to choose a magnifying glass. The result is similar. Simple low-vision aids like these have been around for years. But just around the corner, there are big changes.
We call it Elvis. It's a nickname.
This is a prototype system that will use advanced computer and video technology to help people like Leonard.
And it has a number of attributes, but the first one that we're going to evaluate is just the magnification that it can provide at distance.
Joan Stelmack is an optometrist at the Hines VA Hospital near Chicago. Leonard is trying the helmet for the first time. The system uses a TV camera to view the world, then processes the scene electronically. In the simplest mode, Leonard sees images that are like conventional magnification aids, only wider. It's convenient, and it works.
R, R, D, F, U, V, U, R, Z, V, H. I can see. I can see. And it's just wonderful.
The system was designed in Baltimore by the VA and Bob Massoff of the Wilmer Eye Institute. The ultimate goal is to tackle even the most difficult problems for low vision patients, like reduced contrast.
Give you an idea of what patients might experience, we've reduced the contrast of my image, and amazing as it is, it's at least this bad, sometimes worse for many of these patients. They will complain of not being able to recognize family members, their own spouses and children. But these same patients will tell you they can recognize caricatures. For example, we can all see right here this caricature of Bill Clinton comes through just fine, and that's because the details that define the face are heavy contrast. They're dark lines that outline the important features that make the face recognizable.
So Bob is developing a computer program that can start with a TV picture of a face, then derive a high-contrast cartoon version. This is just the kind of processing that can be built right into the helmet's electronics. And it will happen in real time, too. The user could, say, scan around the table and instantly recognize everybody there. While the high-contrast mode should be incorporated into the helmet within a year, Bob's now working on a much more complex form of image processing. There's one form of damaged central vision where the brain responds like this. The sides of the hole get pulled together. The resulting distortion scans across the scene as the person's eyes move. Obviously, the image can become incomprehensible. Bob Massoff's response is ingenious. His computer takes the part of the scene that the eye can't see and pushes it out to where the eye can see it. The result is distorted. But then the brain constructs its own distorted view of that.
Those distortions will cancel each other out, and the patient should see a completely seamless image with no missing information and no distortions.
If you want to look up.
But to make this work in practice, the computer has to know where the eye is looking. So Bob has become his own experimental subject. He's being fitted with a special contact lens with tiny wires attached to it. The metal cage is generating a magnetic field, which causes very small electric currents to be produced in the wires as the lens moves, enough to keep track of Bob's eye motion. Now, what the computer system can do is precisely line up its distorted version of the scene Bob is viewing with the direction he's looking.
Because it's following my eye movements, wherever I go to look on the screen, there's the blob, and you can't get away from it. It's almost like a floater or a speck that just stays wherever your eye is looking.
The next step will be to adapt all this experimental equipment so that it's small and reliable enough to work as part of the helmet system. So, is this really going to help people? Or is Bob Massoff just a well-meaning high-tech dreamer? This is 7-year-old Joel, the grandson Leonard Pera has never really seen. Time for a field test.
Need a hold. We're hooking you up to the device.
You can tell it's a prototype because our camera crew had to provide a homemade lens shade to cut out glare from the sun. Now, this is a very interesting test because at present, the helmet gives a view only marginally better than Leonard's conventional aids.
Doesn't this thing look crazy, Joel?
Crazy or not, it does seem to work. It's easier to use. He doesn't have to think about it or line it up. He can get on with what really matters.
Getting a good picture.
Real good.
What does he look like?
Beautiful. Joel, come here. I'm fully sorry.
Step on up.
You haven't lost your eyesight, and you don't know what it is to lose it and then not see things, then all of a sudden to see them again. And now I can see, I know what my kids look like, my grandson, my wife, and it's been a long time since I saw them. All I've ever seen was shapes, not faces, no features. And now I can see their features again.